So, welcome back to TFC Unplugged. I nearly said something else there. It's been that kind of a day. Still buzzing from the Forest win today. So, yeah, it was pretty good. Obviously, we're here to talk TFC. So, I'm with my co host, Sean. So, Sean, welcome back. You also had a good day today with your team winning late. But let's talk about the game that was the chaos and the madness yesterday that everyone's here to. Obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe to follow us to talk about the TFC game yesterday at BMO against Austin FC. And you know how it goes. It was a 3-3 madness. And by a messenger, honestly, this is a great game to watch. Again, this is the chaos that we've been saying is going to be this season. And it seems to have been true. What's your thoughts?
Well, first of all, our good friend Chris said to me, he goes, Noel's going to love this game, the shootouts that he likes. So shout out to Chris, our part-time capo. He's definitely one that will appreciate that you love the high-scoring game. But I think before we even get into it, so, Noel and I, we communicate throughout the week when we're not recording. And, he's like, yeah, I'm coming to this game. I'm going to miss certain dates and whatnot. And then we're talking in the morning, and I could tell from the first message you sent me that I'm like, I have a feeling Noel's not going to show up. Right? So I didn't say anything to you. I let you go on with it, right? And then
I was right. I was mad.
We're both on our way, okay? And then Noel, I see one of them where he just says, "Oh, I'm done. I'm done." And I'm thinking, like, is he done? Like this is the last time he's doing this, or is he done? Like he's going home? Right? Like I get the frustration.
I went home.
Right? So
I went home. I should tell everybody the story. I was on the highway. I was sat in traffic and I hadn't even got half an hour in. There was 2 accidents in front of me and the estimated time had already put me 15 minutes into the game. And I was just like, all right, I can't, right? So then I'm like, all right, let's just see if I can get through this. I tried to take the hard shoulder down to try to get up and deke up to the 407. And then that got blocked because some numpty blocked it with the truck. And I just sat there and I just saw, okay, so I'm now missing the first half. And then that was it. I snapped. And then I turned around and to get back home, I actually missed the entire first half. That's how bad the traffic was yesterday. And I'm just done with it. Fortunately, this week we've got a Wednesday night game. I'm at the office in Mississauga, and it's 26 minutes away from the stadium, so it's I will be there on Wednesday. But I'm I'm so fed up with it. So it's not even funny.
So that's the final reasoning behind it, and I think by the 25th. 30th minute, I resigned that, like, yeah, he's definitely not coming because I kept looking down to be like, he could show up, right? Conceivably, like, I know you kind of wanted to, but anyways, you definitely missed a goal fest at BMO. It's been a while. Okay, so I thought the team started out very well. I thought we were on the front foot, because I think it's something we've noticed with these 1:00 games, and we're going to touch on the 1:00 games in a bit. But they usually have a bit of a slow start where we tend to be on the back foot, and it's usually the second half where we kind of wake up and at least look more alive, right? But we look good. We look, moving the ball well, spreading it out wide, and that seems to be how when we're going in the attack is when certain players are missing in the middle, we really try to use our width and send balls in the middle, right? Sargent had, a pretty good chance early on, which, probably would have really changed how that game could have played out if he was able to get one of those early ones actually in the back of the net. I felt his finishes were a little weak. And then, of course, we get the supposed red card, which wasn't a red card. It was a fair, VAR decision to overturn it to a yellow card. I think that kind of woke up Austin. And I think from that moment on, you kind of saw they start to get more into the play and into the game. And that's kind of what eventually led to their first goal, which if you watch on the replay, it started from a throw-in that came into the box. slippery grass, wet grass, so the ball's going to be a lot more slippery. And it literally, I think, it slipped right through Cifuento's legs as he tried to close it. And I think when I look back and I saw how it kind of went right past like 3 or 4 of our defenders and landed right on their foot, and a deflection where Gavin was kind of going one direction, it deflected and goes, so he couldn't do any, switch his direction. It was just one of those like, are you kidding me? And we're down 1-0, which ended up, they took that lead into the half, right? But I think how we came out of the second half was what I liked, right? We didn't decide to again sit back. We said, let's go, let's bring it. And we got it similar to them, a deflection, which led to Shallowy, an easy tap in for him. We're 1-1. Richie gives us a 2-1 lead. Then unfortunately we're not able to hold on to that, and we see them then take the lead. Well, tie and take the lead. And that second goal they scored, you and I talked about this.
Yeah, you know what? That second goal is a thing of beauty. Like, they carved TFC apart. Like, that's like, you just watch it from a football standpoint. They literally carved TFC apart. They literally ran through that midfield like they were hot knife through butter. There was nothing stopping them. They picked their passes. They made the moves. They looked
one
like
touch passes.
Just a well. When you see that they've done that on the training pitch, you see that they've done that before. They've got that movement. Everyone's kind of playing and flowing. And I said to you, it's an absolute banger of a second goal, because they just carved TFC apart. The first goal, again, the third goal, even TFC's goals, a lot of pinball. I think that's how they described it even on commentary yesterday. Is like, it's a lot of pinball. It was kind of a pinball game where it's just balls like zipping around, flying everywhere, and losing footing, and ricochets and bounces and unlucky touches. And you know what? That's just kind of the way it flows sometimes, I think. But at the end of the day, the helter-skelter, we can talk about it in a minute. But if you just look at that second goal from Austin, that's what concerns me more about the game than anything else, was the fact that they were so easy to go through the middle of that TFC team. I keep saying it. We don't seem to have enough in the middle of the park to really suppress those attacks and those teams that can pass through us. And I think that's really what I'm concerned about. Obviously, yesterday, I think both Zimmerman and Kusevich are out. That's a big thing. I don't know what Lazar's got to do to get a start at this point, because I think he came on and looked pretty decent.
I think, how old is he? I think I probably asked you this last week as well. Like, I know he's under the age of 20, right?
I don't think it matters at this point, though. If you're good enough, you're good enough. And I say this all the time. Like, look, you look at some guys that come into even in teams in the Premier League. If you're good enough, you're good enough. And I think it doesn't matter of your age. I just think he just doesn't. Fraser doesn't seem to fancy him. Montlouis, I know some people are blaming him for the third goal, but like, I think that's a joke. He's trying to get his hand out of the way for the first part of that, and then it hits him and it just comes back. It's one of those, again, it's a pinball kind of a goal. Like, you just mentioned to me that, the people were kind of pushing on the Gavin thing, committing too early on that thing. But if you watch the Gavin in that motion, he looks like he thinks that, I think it's, Ramirez or whatever his name is, that's going to hit the ball, and he looks like that's the way he's going to hit it, and then he comes back across Gavin, which I don't really have anybody's fault. It's just one of those unlucky ones that, again, it just hits Montlouis, and it's not that Montlouis had a bad game. I thought Montlouis looks a lot more solid and and as described like he was last year. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's I don't think they played badly. I think it was just unlucky at certain times. But I think what concerns me is if you watch the third goal, you watch the second goal, they just walk right through the midfield. And, I think that is a concern long term. If you can't let teams do that to you. There's two points I have with that, right? If you look at our midfield, they are pressing very forward, right? So you don't really, like, I find sometimes Coelho will drop back and play that more defensive role, but I found yesterday he was
like he was very involved in the attack and not at like there were moments he did drop back more so in the first half, but in the second half I felt he was pushing forward a little bit more, which exposes the defense, especially when we're kind of playing shorthanded defensively, right? You don't have like we didn't have our marquee center back pairing, right? Richie's playing in that center back role. We know Richie's got the freedom to roam. Richie's got the freedom to run, right? I mean, he's playing, if I'm correct, right center back, and when he scores a goal, he's on the left, inside the box on the left side,
But
right? So
I think that's part of that's the thing. Even with Zimmerman, Zimmerman's been like that all season. I think you look at the way he's letting those guys get forward, and Zimmerman's been up there. He's been surging through the
right,
midfield at times, and I think he's just kind of done the same with Richie. I just don't think you can stop them because I think both of them, Zimmerman and Richie. Obviously, I think everybody knows where I want to play Richie. I want to play him in midfield. But at the end of the day, you've got needs must or whatever else. But he also does. If I'm Lazar, I'm sat there going, well, you'd rather play Richie out of position than give me a game, which is kind of concerning. But at the end of the day, I think Richie and Zimmerman do have a license to go forward. And at the end of the day, it's where you kind of want Richie in the attacking. Again, he's very good in the box. He's very good at causing fouls. He's very good at causing chaos around him. Yes, he is a whirlwind of chaos. And at centre back, it is a little bit like, I think I refer to it the same way as obviously you're a Liverpool fan. It's like when Liverpool plays Szoboszlai at right back. I just think it's the biggest waste of time. I just don't see the point because at the end of the day, he's a guy that can influence your game in midfield. But yeah, he's in the centre back role. And again, I would much rather yesterday he play Lazar in centre back alongside Monlouis and then just have Richie in the midfield because at the end of the day, they don't waltz through that midfield if Richie's in there because you're going to have to go through Richie. And I just don't think it makes sense from Robin Fraser's standpoint of how he keeps setting up this team. And that's just how I feel about it. Obviously, let us know in the comments what you guys think because at the end of the day, like, I love Richie going forward. We know what he's like in the box. He's like, he can draw a penalty quicker than anybody else in this league. But having him in the other box defending is just not the greatest. So the fact that he roams forward when he is at centre back, it is a blessing. But when he scores that goal, my first thought is, why is he centre back today? Again, it's just, that's what I'm saying. And this, when it comes down to, I'm back to this, on the Robin Fraser, like what does Lazar have to do to get a game?
I don't disagree.
Because at the end of the day, that's the problem. Or if Gomes is playing at centre back, like whoever it is, I'm sure we can find a better option than Richie when you're missing Mihailovic. That's my problem.
Well, here's the thing is, and what I don't know Fraser realizes he could be doing to a player like Stevanovic is that last year in the limited minutes we saw out of him, we saw that this kid's got upside, right? He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't error prone. He wasn't out there constantly just like, oh my God, like what's this kid doing? He looked like he fit, right? If you don't allow him to start to make the next phase, which is, yeah, you know what? Allow him to make the mistake or two when he's out there and not look to always yank him versus give him sprinkle little minutes here or there. Because once you have a healthy Zimmerman, once you have a healthy Kuzvik, once you have a healthy Gomez, Stevanovic drops on the pecking order. He's now the fifth option. He's not playing. He'll get Canadian Championship type minutes, right? That's not good for these young kids' development. Either let's see what he has now so that maybe in the summer you look to loan him out so that he can build on that consistency versus a game. He might get one or two games in the next 2 months.
Because that's the thing that drives me the most nuts is we've seen like guys like Kerr, we've seen guys like Short Shorts who's just left, right? Cozy Thompson. How many games did they get? Like that's what drives me nuts. Yeah. How many games did they get? How many times did they screw up? And how many times did they cost us games? How many? Like I can list them probably. I could probably sit here and list all the games they cost us. And then this guy hasn't really cost us a game. He hasn't really done anything wrong, and he can't get a starting thing. And then when I look at the midfield, yes, they're playing a high press. Yes, they're playing. They're trying to obviously make up for the lack of Mihailovic, and you got to move on from that. Which again, that's if you've got Coelho trying to play a bit more of an offensive thing. You still need somebody defensively to solidify. I can't even say it. you know what I mean. It's one of those days. You just can't. I just don't understand why we don't have Richie in the middle of the park and then just have him just, then break forward and play box to box, which he can quite easily do. I just don't. I just
Well,
don't get
I
it. I
mean,
just don't understand what he's
let
doing, because at the end of the day, we don't
well,
see enough from. Like, I like Cifuentes in patches. Oso's legs aren't. I just don't understand why Oso's legs don't go that long anymore. Right? He looks tired by about 70 minutes.
well, I don't disagree. I think we're pushing specifically Cifuentes and Osa way too much right now with regard to the minutes they're playing. In an ideal world, you know, first of all, Osario's he's his level of game this season has is kind of kicked up a notch, and it's most likely he really wants to go to the World Cup. So he really worked on fitness and coming to the season ready to show that um, he can provide something more than just 20-30 minutes off the bench. So credit to him, because you and I have definitely um, had our share of takes on Osario, but I think he's deserved the the starting minutes that he's getting. However, the fact that again we don't have anyone to relieve or give him a bit of more of a breather is not a good thing. You're going to wear him out sooner rather than later because he's not young anymore, and him being playing 90 minutes week in week out is not a good thing. Fans love seeing him out there because he's giving it his all defensively, offensively, but at the same time, what if we want to preserve what we're seeing out of him? He should only be playing 60, 70 minutes every game. He should be one of the first guys out, getting some rest and relief so that you can get the best out of him week in, week out. Right. But this goes to like they've added key pieces defensively on the attack. But this is the area we have not strengthened enough in the offseason to really make us say a contender. Right. So I think right now the club is where we'd say they're a playoff team, but that's as far as we see them, a one and done type of scenario, right? Without making adjustments come summer window, right? Because we're going to talk on this every week, right? Especially when you have injuries to Halovic. While he's being out, it's really exposing the weakness and the lack of depth on this team. There's like it's kind of getting pointless, kind of reiterating the same thing over and over of we're not deep enough, we're not deep enough. How can this team find a way to turn these draws into wins? Right? Josh
Yeah, you
Sargent,
know what? You have to give credit to the players for fighting yesterday. I do,
yeah.
you've got to give them credit. And I think we are quick to always say, they haven't really fought for the badge over the last few years. But, the players did get back into it. And, I didn't think Franklin was going to be the answer to score that goal. But you know what? Right place, right time. And, again, following up to get in the box, to get in that position. And I think at the end of the day, there is positives from the game. At the end of the day, it is helter skelter. I think the biggest thing, and you see it in the fan base, you see it on the socials, you see it on things, is these games are far more entertaining to watch. Because honestly, like I just said to you, it was a great game to sit. I only watched the second half, but sat on the couch watching the second half with my coffee, growling at the TV. I did enjoy it. Like it's a good fun game to watch. It's a bit of ping pong, but I think at the end of the day, you also sit back and watch it, and because we watch so much soccer and we watch so many games and we watch so much stuff, that when you start to see how the game could be saved, or the game could be managed, or the game could be controlled, or the game could be adjusted by the coach, and you don't really see it, and you just kind of see them, it's just helter skelter. And I think they're just going for it. And I think at the end of the day, if I sit down and look at the TFC start to the season, it's a lot more of what I wanted than I don't want, which I think that's fantastic to say at this point, because at the end of the day, I think Shallowy looks like the DP without paying for a DP, which is what we were saying. You need a DP to go. You need a TAM player to come in and play like a DP. We said that at the start of the season, because that's really what you do need to win in this league. You do need your TAMs to really perform. And he looks fantastic. And even that, just being in the box, somebody puts in a great cross and he's in the box, and it takes a bit of luck, but he's the concentration to score that first goal. And Shallowy's been, fantastic. Love the signing. Looks really good. Don't want to overblow him and hype but at the end of the day, he looks like a real.
Pause. Noel didn't mean that with that over. All right, yeah. So you were saying?
I just think it. Yeah, I'm losing my chain there. No, but I think it's at the end of the day, you look at this team yesterday, and I do think it's just you are missing some pieces, and the thing that I really think is the biggest problem right now is I just don't think Robin Fraser's doing enough during the game to, when you're up, when you're winning, like you kind of just got to control the game, just control, and take Austin out of it. And I think they didn't. They still kept pressing forward. They got caught a little bit, and then they got sliced open. And then within a minute or two later, they're back on. Like there was a chance. As soon as they scored that second goal, there was another chance that came straight after it, and then they get the third one, right? And I think that's where you've got to sit back and go, well, hang on. We scored the second goal. Let's just calm it down for 10 minutes. Let's control the ball. Yeah. Let's just be at home and dictate this game, because at the end of the day, we just didn't do that. And I think that is the problem that we keep seeing. And yes, it's great to have a 3-3. It's fun to watch these games because I can't take any more of those boring 0-0, 1-0 wins that we endured last year, where I think the paint fell off the wall and BMO because it was so bored. Like at the end of the day, I do like the scoring games. I do like the goals. I do like the action. But you also got to say, look, come on, dude, just, calm them down. Don't have to go all hell for leather for it every week. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you. So first, let's take us from and this is kind of to all the fan base. Let's take a step back for a moment. Where were we a year ago at this stage when we look at how we're playing, standings, direction of this team? Where were we?
That's a good question. Where were we? I don't remember how it was last year.
We weren't in a playoff position. I'm pretty sure we can confidently say that.
I think we were. I was just looking it up, actually. Oh, we were 12th this time last year.
We were 12th, right? Well, what was our record?
Not a lot.
How many games? 6, 7, 8? Similar?
8. I think you're 8.
All right, so same point. How many wins?
I think we were 2 or 3.
All right. Oh, that's similar. If we had 2 or 3.
I'm just going back here and looking because, fortunately they have the stats. Yeah, because last March was we lost. So last March we 4-2 to Orlando. We lost 2-0 to Cincinnati, 2-1 to Chicago. We beat New York 2-1. 0-0 with Vancouver, which was respectable at that time. Then 1-1 with Miami.
Okay, so
that's
2 draws. One win, 2 draws.
Yeah, that takes you another 0-0 draw in Minnesota. And then it would be this week last year would be we won 1-0 at Real Salt Lake, that game that we're all like, huh? We won? Do you remember that I think that was the Corbiano goal, right?
Off the top, I don't really remember. I think there were moments early on where we looked like really this team could do something. If I remember correctly, that was 2 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses.
So we had 3 defeats, a win, a draw, a win. So yeah. And then
2 wins.
And then we lost. Then we followed that up. We ended April with another defeat to New York City, and then we tied with Montreal 2-2 before going on to start May and lose to New England. So we were that's why we were way down. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. We weren't. Essentially, we've improved.
2 wins.
Right.
Yeah,
it's only one
dramatically.
win, right? Less, it's. I think the loss went on the win column. I think the draws are the same. The point is, you can actually tangibly look at this team and say, on how we've played is 10 times better than how we started the season last year. Okay, maybe not 10 times, maybe that's exaggerating, but you can actually notice a difference in how this team is playing, where the improvement has shaped the direction of this team compared to last year. Because last year it was basically you're hoping the Italians are both bought in and healthy, and all the other pieces can work with them. Because we didn't really have any new pieces to start 2020. I think we had the striker Ole, however you pronounce it, but we really didn't have anything really to be like, yes, right? At least we can see a direction. Now, this is no me not trying to paint, Fraser in a better picture. Like I said, I think you used a term last week, which somebody I think liked it and commented on from last week, cardboard cutout, right? I think we have to accept that's Fraser. He's never going to change. He's never going to become more animated. And I think I've said this before. He's the interim man until the organization looks and says, okay, for this club to really get to the next stage in the playoffs and make a real push, they're going to make a change. And we've seen it in many teams, right? A coach gets the team to a certain point, and then they kind of get somebody who can really get them over the hump. And I
Yeah,
think
and
Fraser would do a
you're
prime
kind of
example.
referencing the what's his name,
Well,
Sartini,
Vancouver's for
Vancouver's
right, but we've seen
a
it
great
before,
example. Yeah, it's a great
right?
example. But what I would say for me, the biggest thing is with Fraser, and what drives me bonkers is he plays safe so much in terms of a lot of it is, but like Derek Etienne Jr., like even on commentary, the commentary was like
I,
he offered nothing yesterday and absolutely nothing. And then Henry comes on and Henry was like a live wire, and you've been calling
no,
for it
no,
for weeks, but like
and that's the problem is, and it's a similar scenario with, you know, at a certain point, you have to give these young kids the opportunity to play. Henry, Stevanovic, let's see what they bring to the table. Because here's the upside to them: they ball out. What's wrong with them balling out? If it like you can easily make a sub and say, you know what, Henry, you're turning the ball over, you're not adjusting to certain shifts in how the defender's marking you. You're not reading the game well. You can easily make those shifts. Same with Savanovic. If all of a sudden you're down 2-0 and he's caused those 2 goals, you can quickly adjust, right? And know that, you know what, today's is not his day. But when we already know, for example, what Etienne brings to the table, how long has he been here? 2-3 years almost?
feels like
And he
forever.
scored less. Like that's probably how many goals he's probably contributed or scored since he's been here.
6.
There's no value in him. We all know this from a fan base. Like everybody sees him out there and they're
No,
like,
but that's the thing. That's the thing, though. When you see Henry come on and do something and get involved, and you're kind of like, okay, well, there you go. Again, it's just you've got some options, but we just
they don't.
played the safe one. This is like putting um Larea back in center defense, right? It's the same thing for me. Like at the end of the day, he hasn't done anything all season. He scored 1 goal that he got a bit fortunate on. Other than that, what has he done? He's done nothing. He offers nothing. And that's where it's kind of on. This is where I get on Fraser, because it's like you've got an opportunity. You've got some players that come on that are trying to make a name for themselves. They want to make a career for themselves, and they've got to get after it, and they don't get after it. So I just, again, it's just this is the stuff that bangs my head against off the wall, because it's like, yes, we've improved. Yes, we've got more wins. Yes, we seem to be averaging 3 to 4 goals a game, which is far more exciting than watching the paint dry at 0-0. But at the end of the day, you also got guys that aren't still performing, that are still getting game times. And then there's guys that you don't really know what you've truly got, aren't getting any time, but we play safe and consistent. Or let's roll
Yep.
out Derek Etienne Jr. because, I seem to pick on him a lot, but I just don't think he offers anything in any way, shape, or form. And the last couple of games, he's been horrible, like horrible. Like he's done nothing. And so, when your guy comes on and then makes an impact and he gets a cross in, or starts at runs and starts running at players and they're backing up, you're like, why can't I see more of that? And that's where it comes back to the coaching.
Here's what's really scary if you really break it down, because Etienne Jr. technically is the backup to what seems like Kerr over on the right side on the wing. So I think in Fraser's ideal scenario, you have Kerr on the right. You're basically playing a 4-3-3, and up front is Kerr right, Sargent in the middle, Shallowy on the left, right? And I would now like seeing her on the wing. You and I know we've talked about this when we used to do the Tunnel Club over and over. Kerr's not a striker; he's a winger. We've noticed before he got tweaked the injury again, that when he was out there, he looked so much more dynamic playing on the wing. We're seeing what he actually can do from the attacking standpoint, right? So technically, Etienne is his backup. I'm sorry. What did Henry do when he started early in the season wrong? Why he's all of a sudden dropped so far in the pecking order?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's a great question, but that's the question the fan base is. You see it repetitively, whether it's Lazo, whether it's like you've got these guys that we don't really know what they are. We don't really. Vilsant seems to have just fallen off the earth. Again, I think he ended last season pretty positively, looked a threat, but you haven't seen him this season. So again, it's just a question whether he likes certain players, and I think that's it's quite evident he doesn't. And I think at the end of the day, you also look at what the impact that a guy like Henry did this week. He came on and made a difference, and I think that is what you need from your young players, is to come on and make a difference in a game. It's not that difficult.
So did they hold on to Vilsaint simply for the reason that Sargent, as a backup in case the Sargent deal didn't work out? But now that you have him, you have Emilio, like it seems like Emilio is kind of somewhat his backup, but can also come in, if you're pushing for that, that extra goal, you want him and Sargent on the pitch, which I don't get, because aren't they both technically number 9s? And then that's where Vilsaint now loses even more playing time. If that's the case, wasn't there still enough time to move Vilsaint on? You were able to move Kosi on.
Yeah, I don't think you need to move him on, but again, it's just give him some playing time. He's probably going to get a game in against Ottawa probably in 2 weeks or whatever it is. But
I get it.
I think that's also what it is too. I think you also need an X amount of Canadians for that cup competition too. And I think he might just be he's a cheap piece. He's not a expensive piece on the roster.
You need 3 to start. You have within your and this goes to again when I asked you about when is Yarbrough gonna play, it's not gonna be the Canadian Championship, because I'm assuming that's Adisa's turn, right? Or why? I get you keep teams keep 3 keepers on the roster, right? But then it just makes, again, because you have to start 3 Canadians, if I'm correct, in the Canadian Championship, right?
Yeah.
So Richie. You have Kosi, you have Kopi Franklin as an option. You have Gabbard as an option. You have Osario as an option. And because we're thin on the midfield, he's probably going to be playing. You have Kerr that you can use. You actually have enough that you can use out there, they'll say. Defense is probably where we don't really have a lot of options.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's part of it too, but I do think I think he's kept him on for a reason. I just don't think it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I just think it's interesting that sometimes what you've got with some of these guys, but some of these guys we've still got question marks. We haven't seen enough sample size. Do you know what I mean? It's like I remember last year we were on about that with Cassius Malula. He says, well, what have we got? Then they played him for 5 games, and you found out pretty much done.
Where is he?
I don't know. Whatever happened to him? That should be the title of our next episode. Whatever happened to Cassius Malula?
Okay, you know what? Let's not. We won't focus on that now. Let's do our research, because that's a good thing to bring up on. Maybe we'll do a little 5-minute clip on where is Cassius as we find him. But you know, we're gonna have in a week where, like I said, we have this game, we have Wednesday's game, we have a game again next week, Saturday. We're already injured, have a lot of guys out. You have to assume a player like Stevanovic, a player like Henry should get a start. Like you're playing right now, if we look at Philadelphia Union, we struggled against them in the past, yes. But right now they're 1-1-6. We should be going into Wednesday night with the mindset that's 3 points. We have to bag. Right? This is where the club needs to start to have that walk into games with, all right, who is our matchup? Like, yes, you want them to kind of say that week in, week out, but we don't really have that status yet. But right now, where we currently are, in order to continue the progression, you have to think that's a 3-pointer right there.
Yep. Pretty much.
Right. So it will be interesting to see how the team takes that game. And then who do we play on Saturday? Atlanta. Where are they right now? They're not having a great season. They're similar to, so like if we really look at things right now, these next 2 games, right? Regardless of injury, we have
you need to win.
The mindset of this team, simple as that. Simple as that. Hungry. They have to be hungry. Every player in this team needs to go in there. Josh Sargent, I think, has a lot to prove right now. I think I was willing to give him the fact that he is slowly, I don't know when or even if he is, say, 100%, but he's around 80-90% game fitness, game ready, right? Some of the things I saw out of him yesterday, I was super disappointed. He should have, like, the final, his final shot was soft, not really making the keeper work. One where he kind of just flopped. I don't know what he was doing, and you just saw him kind of land. The ball went off his chest, and it just looked like in the second half, like, because it happened literally right in front of us, and I was just like, "What just happened here?"
I don't think you're going to get anything out. I don't think you're going to get anything out of him until after the World Cup, right? Let's just, I think sometimes, he's obviously been in England, obviously had that long drawn out break of play and not playing and all that kind of stuff. I think that's just time. I think at the end of the day, I'm not worried about him. I'll worry about him if he's finishes the season with 4 goals, right? I think that will be a different subject. But I think after you've got 104 days off in between games, I don't think he's going to the World Cup. I think at the end of the day, you'll get Mihailovic back. I think you'll have him back. And I think at the end of the season, in August, before when we get back to proper games after the World Cup, what I think you'll find is you'll see him and Mihailovic with a better understanding. I think you'll have a different fitness level. Obviously, those guys are going to get a break, right? And a pretty big break in between. So I think after the World Cup, that would be when I will start to judge him and kind of take a stock on it. But just to wrap up, we obviously will be back on Thursday because we are going to record a show after the midweek game on Wednesday, and then next week it will be Sean for sure. I am out the country for the weekend, so I will we'll figure out if it might be later in the week, but we'll figure something out. But I think just to touch on, I did find Cassius. He's on loan in the Challenger Pro League in Belgium at a team called Kajork.
Okay, but hold on. When they never said anything about that,
September 2025. I just looked it up. He was loaned on September 2025.
So he basically never really came back after the Club World Cup. Because that's kind of where we were.
Yeah, that's when they said they were trying to find him a new home, and then there was nothing really ever said. I don't know if we just missed it, but I just looked it up to see where he's playing. So I don't really know much about the Challenger Pro League in Belgium, but I can tell you it's not probably high if I don't know what it is. So it's that kind of gives you an understanding. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I thought he was going back to the team he played with before, because it seemed like it wasn't the team in South Africa that he had.
The Sundowns. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, all the best to him. All right, yeah, we will be back, like Noel said, Thursday. Thursday night we'll record, drop it probably right away if we can, so that you guys can get the content before and have some time to digest Wednesday's game and get ready for Saturday's game. So that's it for me. Noel, you good?
I'm good.
All right, folks. Don't forget, smash that like, give us the big thumbs up. We appreciate, and we love the comments. You guys have been really communicating and giving us feedback. Hit us up anywhere you find us, in YouTube, on X. We're both on Blue Sky. We may not really tweet a lot there, but we do tweet this out on a, at least once in a while,
Sometimes.
and on Instagram, and of course a little bit on TikTok. We're going to increase that slowly but surely. But yeah, the most important thing is hit that subscribe button. We want to set more goals on our numbers. You guys have been great help, but you can also tell a friend and tell a friend. So that's it for me. See you guys on Thursday night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Like what you hear? Smash that like button, subscribe now.